Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. Thank you for being here and watching this video. Today I'm going to draw a tram. I took this photo of this particular tram in Melbourne. So this is the free kind of city tram that circles the city that you can hop on and hop off wherever you like. And as you can see, it just looks really cool. I did actually include this sketch in my book, Sketchy Adventures around the world, so do check out the link for that below. I sketched it in several sessions as it did some laps around the city. I got as much as I could because it was really hot, and then finished it off with my from the photograph. So that sketch is in the book, but I thought I would sketch it here for you again. I'm super busy at the moment. Every spare moment I am working on something quite a large project, so I didn't really have time to go out or do any kind of more informational video for you, but I saw the picture of this tram and it just reminded me that it was really fun to draw and that I wouldn't mind having a go at drawing it again. I mainly seem to draw buildings and stuff like that on this channel, so I thought why not mix it up a bit and show you my process of sketching this tram. So yeah, as mentioned, my original sketch of this tram is in my book, Sketchy Adventures Around the World, which is an ebook and it's in PDF format. So if you're interested, please do go check it out. I actually have a new shop now, so it's a new link and it's from a new platform, but everything else remains the same. So with this sketch, I'm obviously just sketching out the big shapes in pencil, and because it's quite detailed and there's quite a bit of perspective going on and whatnot, I've drawn a lot more in with my pencil than maybe I would usually, but I definitely find with subjects like this kind of thing, I draw quite a bit more in pencil before I go in with the ink. So I'm using my Wasabi Eco fountain pen. It's my favourite fountain pen, as some of you probably know. And it's got an extra fine nib on it, which I do not find too fine. I actually think this is great. I don't think I personally would want it much thicker than this. So I'm just going in and refining the pencil lines. I adjust sort of things as I go if the pencil isn't quite right. And I'm using platinum carbon ink inside of this pen. It's the only ink that I use. It totally does the job for me, so I've got no real reason to explore any other inks, to be honest. I think I just got lucky with trying this ink out and it suited my purpose, and I haven't needed to try anything, so do highly recommend that ink. By the way, I've got a link to all the stuff that I use or recommend in the description below, which will take you to urbansketchingworld.com, and just all of the links are there. Just found it easier than listing it all individually in the description below, because it just becomes quite unwieldy, you know, there's just too many links and whatnot. So just the one link will take you over to Urban Sketching World, where I've got a nice page there which lists everything in categories that I use or have used or recommend. And obviously some of the links on there are affiliate links to Dick Blick and Amazon and that kind of thing. So if you are looking to buy any of these bits and bobs, then do consider following the link below to the website. It just means I get a couple of dollars here and there, which always helps to make more of these types of videos. As mentioned earlier, I am working on a huge project at the moment, and I'm going to tell you more about that at the end of the video. I can't even believe I'm actually saying these words out loud, because it has been quite the process. But I have learnt a lot. So anyway, I'll tell you more about that at the end of the video. So I'm just putting in a few of the shadows that I want to make sure I get in the paint. I'm just mapping them in pencil just because they're the main shadows. So now I'm looking at my watercolour chart. So I've got my White Nights watercolours on the left and my Mungyo colours there on the right. And I'm trying to find which set is going to give me the best green that I'm after for this tram. And I've decided that this green looks, to my eye, similar to what's in the photo, or at least it's the colour that I kind of want to paint the tram. So I've decided on that green from the Mungyo, and then kind of by accident I was just like, well, if I'm going to use this green from the Mungyo set, then I might as well just use the Mungyo set in total and use it for this whole sketch, because I haven't done, since I've had the set, I haven't really done a whole picture or sketch or illustration just with this set. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys, like, demo the set. It is super cheap, but really especially for this style of watercolor illustration, you really don't need anything much more than this, to be honest. But as we mentioned before, it is not artist grade, so you wouldn't want to sell an original illustration with these watercolors, just because if it's exposed to the UV too much, then the colors are going to fade and that kind of thing. I won't go into too much detail about that. If you do want to watch a whole review on this set, I do have a video talking you through the set and also doing a demo painting, so you can go check it out. But for this one, I thought, well, why not? It would be interesting just to see if I can do this whole sketch with the Mungyo set. So I do actually break a few rules as well in this sketch. I decided that, seeing as the set has a black watercolor and it has a white watercolor in it, I was like, well, I'm just going to use them and see what happens, which I know is like a big no-no in the watercolor world, really, is to like use a straight black and that kind of thing. But I always feel like this is almost like pseudo watercolor, do you know what I mean? It's not like full-on watercolor painting. I'm just kind of doing a drawing and then almost painting it in, colouring it in, as it were, with watercolour. So I was like, no, why don't I just use the black straight from the pan? I've never do this, ever, because I don't even have a black, but now I have this set. It's like, why not? Let's just see what it looks like, And I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, some of these areas of black where I used the black watercolour, I might have used a brush pen. So definitely on the top of the tram where the signs are that I'm painting now, I might have used a black for that in the past. So a black brush pen, sorry, should I say. So I'm kind of like, well, what's the big deal about using black straight from the pan? I really have a block from it on using black, and I think it's just because of the amount of instruction and tuition I've watched on YouTube and other artist courses, and obviously it's always like, no, never use black, you must mix black from blue and brown. And I totally get that in traditional watercolor painting. It would just look really, I'm sure it would just look really bad if you used black, but in this style of illustration, I think it really does the job, as I said, it just kind of replaces the brush pen in a way. So I was quite happy with that decision. And then I did actually mix the white in to that yellow ochre to kind of get those yellowy frames around the tram windows. And again, I was quite happy with that decision as well. After writing a blog post about white watercolour and what it's used for and why some sets include it and stuff, it's really kind of opened my mind and understanding to how to or why I might use the white. So definitely when you're trying to achieve more man-made kind of pastel-y colours, I think the white comes in super handy. It's, maybe not something I would choose to put inside my own set, but seeing as it's here in the Mungyo, I'm like, why not take advantage of it? So now I've painted the tram, and it's obviously quite off to the left on the page, and I just didn't really overthink it too much. I knew this was just going to be like a quick rough sketch. Not rough sketch, but you know what I mean. It's just not going to be like a finished piece or anything. It was just going to be a demo piece. I realised I could weigh the composition out a bit and just do the ground and the shadow areas just on the right hand side of the tram, and I actually think it looks pretty cool. So leave the ground unpainted on the left and just do these kind of wet on wet and splattery sort of things on the right hand side. I took a bit of a risk with choosing the blue and the purple and the black to mix together. I didn't really know how that was going to come out, but I think it looks all right. It does a good job of being the ground, and also using the purple kind of weighs out the yellow on the top of the tram. There's complementary colours and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to get a bit more depth into the tram. I'm just trying to paint a few more shadow areas, which are probably quite subtle to see on the camera, but it does kind of add a bit more life to the tram. And you can see on the right hand side I've just sort of swatched in some of the colours that I'm using. I took Alicia Aradia's Domestica course a little while ago now, and I always love that she puts in her little swatches of colour. And I was like, I've got all this space on the right hand side. I was like, I know, I'm going to do an Alicia. I'll put in my swatches of colour on the right and eventually write down what they are. So I added that number 35 with a white Posca pen at the top there, by the way. And now on the picture I can see like it's so black under the tram. So at this point this was such a risk, and while I was doing it I was like, oh god, this is going to ruin the whole sketch and I'm going to have to start filming this thing again or start drawing it again. But I don't know, I always think that, and eventually I can sort of make it work. Even no matter how bad it's looking, I can eventually make it look reasonable, you know. So that's fine. So now I'm just using a white gel pen to put in some of the details, and I thought, oh, I could just outline the bottom of the tram so that it stands out a bit against the black that I've added underneath it, which I think works. And obviously I've just added the sign on top of the tram there. So I'm adding in just a few notes about those colour mixes there, just a bit like Alicia Aradia does, just because I thought that might be fun. And I actually I really like how this looks. I'm just adding the road markings there in the white Posca pen just to finish it off. And I think that adds a bit to the kind of perspective of the scene that we're looking at. And I'm just thickening some lines with the black fine liner here and there again, just to give it a bit of contrast. I think there's certain areas I could have gone further, adding a bit more shadow too on this tram, but I didn't want to overwork it too much, and I just stuck with the decisions that I made. But I think as a sketch and as a demo of these paints, I think I'm actually really happy with this sketch. I think it came out actually a lot nicer than I thought it would. It took me about 1.5 hours, probably with a bit of messing around in the middle when I was trying to find some music to listen to. So about 1.5 hours I think it took. And I used Canson XL cold press watercolour paper. And as I mentioned, I only used the Mungyo paints. So, moving on to my big announcement. As you can see on your screen right now, it's called Sketchy Adventures in Ink and Watercolour. What is it, you might be asking yourself? It is, my friends, my first and full-length online course about ink and watercolour travel sketching. So I'm really excited about this. I have been working on it for so long now. I'm presenting to you 3 different projects, one of which is what you can see on the screen there, some road signs. That result actually is a bonus lesson, but the main lesson is painting the road signs with a slightly different result to what's there, but this is a bonus lesson that you can see on the screen. The second project, we sketch an ornate door, because some of you that subscribe to this channel will know I've got quite a thing about ornate doors. And the third project is of a full building, and it's a photograph I took in Mexico when I was living there and studying silversmithing in 2019. So 2 of the 3 illustrations are from my book, Sketchy Adventures Around the World, but you absolutely don't need the book or anything like that for this course. It's just referencing what's the travel sketches that I've done in the past and basically taking you through step by step, almost in real time, of the process that I used to sketch those things. And I take you through it like really, not slowly, but obviously much slower than I would do it if I was on location sketching, because obviously the idea there is to try and, not take too long about it. But I really take you through it step by step. I explain my process, explain what I'm thinking. I explain when I'm like making different decisions to what I did in the original sketch and why I might want to experiment with this different way instead. The idea is not for you guys to like copy it exactly or anything like that, but it's really to help you understand my thought processes around travel sketching and the decisions that I make when I'm sketching, and also to encourage you and inspire you to experiment for yourselves, but understand why you're experimenting or what you're doing might result in a good result, if you know what I mean. So that's the idea behind the course, and the 3 projects are sort of designed to take you step by step. So the first project is street furniture, and it's road signs, and it's like reasonably simple shapes, and it's not too overwhelming. The second project is an ornate doorway, so it's like a little more complicated, but still like a not too full on. And then the third project is an entire building, but it's just one building, but it's quite a interesting building, with some added bits like crazy cables and stuff like that. So you're still telling, a story with your sketch. So I'm super excited to launch this to everyone. I still think I'm about a week away from completing everything and final checks and going through it and that kind of thing. But, you know, if you're watching this not at the time I've published this video, then yay, the course is out. And please follow the link in the description below and go and check it out. And if you have any questions at all, then you can reach me on my email address, which is taria@urbansketchingworld.com. But anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about the course, and yeah, I'd really love it if you would go and just check it out. Okay, that wraps up today's video. I hope it was enjoyable. I hope you possibly learnt something, and do make sure you come and check out urbansketchingworld.com, and I will see you in the next one.